ProdCharles here. Have you guys ever put thought into who the puppet or the marionette is in Five Nights at Freddy's? In this video, I want to share with you two ideas that could explain who exactly the marionette is in the Five Nights at Freddy's series. Just a heads up guys, I call the puppet the marionette. I know a lot of people love calling the puppet the marionette and a lot of people love calling the marionette the puppet, but I tend to say marionette. Sometimes I change between them. I'll also give a little bit of juicy information on Golden Freddy, so make sure you watch the video all the way through to understand what's happening. The first concept I have explaining who the marionette is lies in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. In order to get the good ending in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, you have to complete a minigame in which you give a birthday cake to a child at a party that has a congregation of dead children around the table. Now, if we know anything about the marionette, it's that it's heavily involved in birthday parties, and we learn this especially in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. So it makes sense that this theme carries on in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. Therefore, we know that the marionette is good at giving gifts, and in particular, it's good at giving life. What other character in the Five Nights at Freddy's series so far have we seen that's good at giving gifts and giving life? The clue could be in the mask that the child is wearing in the Five Nights at Freddy's 3 minigame that we play that gives the good ending. Doesn't this character look quite a lot like Circus Baby? Isn't Circus Baby also an iconic character that gave out birthday presents and food in the earlier games in the Five Nights at Freddy's series? When it delivers cake to the child in the final minigame that gives the good ending in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, we see that the mask left behind looks a lot like the marionette. Is it possible that this child spirit that we're talking about actually the same spirit that occupies Enid? This suggests that Enid, the marionette, and Circus Baby are the same character. And it makes sense. Circus Baby handed out ice cream as part of being a child performer for Circus Baby's Pizza World. The spirit of the child that was squashed to death by Circus Baby would therefore occupy Circus Baby and take on the same responsibilities that Circus Baby had without knowing it, and carry those responsibilities on into the afterlife. So what does it do? It gives life to the various animatronics. That's all it knows that it can do. It gives life to Ballora. It gives life to Funtime Freddy. It gives life to Bonbon. It gives life to the Mini-Renas. It gives life to the missing children. It gives life to Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy. It gives life to Golden Freddy. Now I say it gives life to Golden Freddy because the character at the end of Five Nights at Freddy's 4 could possibly be Golden Freddy. It has the exact same mask as the child wearing the Freddy mask, the dead child that is, except it's much lighter. We can see that in the bad ending that all 4 animatronics are there, including another animatronic in the background that looks just like Freddy, except brighter. It's harder to see though because it's in the background. When you get the good ending, this animatronic head ends up disappearing. Isn't that a bit odd? If you interpret these ending screens in combination with the Springtrap scene that we see at the end of Five Nights at Freddy's 3, it could actually be interpreted as the spirits of the missing children being put to rest. The disappearance of Golden Freddy from the good ending screen is important, and it kind of ties in with the role that Golden Freddy plays in the first few games. And that role is, it's rather passive. It can take you out, but it's really easy to deal with. It's not as aggressive as the other animatronics, and it just wants to be out of the way. After all, it doesn't have an endoskeleton. But as for the reason why this behavior is so, well, that needs to be explained by Scott himself, perhaps in a future game. That is, if the marionette isn't already associated with Enid. In the bad ending of Five Nights at Freddy's 3, we see that each of the animatronic heads has one eye that glows up. This might actually be a hint from Scott that Enid does have some kind of influence in this whole situation. Remember, in Five Nights at Freddy's sister location, at the end of Top Shelf, we get a minigame that shows Purple Guy throwing up the Enid endoskeleton. The Enid-like thing that he throws up actually looks like a mess of animatronic endoskeleton parts with a bunch of eyeballs attached to it. Single eyeballs, each of a different color. Could these eyeballs perhaps be associated with each of the animatronic heads that we see in the bad ending screen? Like I said, it could be a hint by Scott. Guys, the second idea that I have for you is that the marionette is actually the child that gets killed by the purple guy in that Five Nights at Freddy's 2 cutscene. The one where we have to deliver gifts to children as Freddy. The reason I say this is because when Pink Guy does whatever the heck he does to that child, the child starts crying a lot, and the tears that stream down its face go past its head onto the floor. It actually makes it look like the marionette itself, because the marionette mask has 2 streaks that come from its eyeballs down to the end of its mask. On top of that, guys, the marionette actually comes out and jump scares you when you complete this minigame. On the other hand, you could say that it actually supports the first idea, and the marionette's jump scaring us because it's coming out to give life to this child that just got murdered by the pink guy. But what do you think? Remember that we're all in this together, and we're developing on these theories together. So leave a comment if you have something to say that supports or disproves this theory. I respond to all of the really good comments, and if your comment's really good, I'll make a video based on it. Remember to subscribe and tap that bell for more Five Nights at Freddy's and horror game videos. See ya!